everybody, it's Chris Eason online as Wootini here with another Gay Gamer video podcast for you. This week I went to the movies and I actually saw Kraven the Hunter, which is like supposedly the final Sony Spider-Man universe movie. It's about the Spider-Man villain Kraven the Hunter, but as opposed to the other Spider-Man movies, there's no mention of Spider-Man at all. There are some spiders at one point, but they don't try to like tie it to Spider-Man. There's some Daily Bugle papers, but like that's it. They do use a few of the Spider-Man villains, including Kraven. But it is what it is. It's just, it's hard to describe because it's just sort of there. Like, it starts with a really cool, like, assassination and prison break, and you're like, okay. And then it's like, now we're going to flash back to show you Kraven's origin and how he got his powers and everything. And that flashback goes on for, like, ever. It feels like an hour, except it's not. Because then we go back to the present, and then it just sort of meanders about, and finally something happens that instigates some actual forward momentum with the plot. And I actually checked the time, and that was an hour into the movie. So, like, everything just feels arbitrary. Like, they're just sort of like doing things to do them. And it isn't until like an hour in where you're like, okay, now this has happened, so now Kraven must do this. But even then, it's sort of like, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that. And it's just sort of like, there's no like momentum. It's not exciting or fun or thrilling or anything. It's just sort of like, it just sort of happens. I'm just sort of like, okay, this is like the least thrilling thriller or the least exciting comic book movie I've seen. And for an action movie, I mean, there's all this action, but it's just sort of like, like you don't care why it's happening because it's also arbitrary. Like, he's supposed to be this amazing hunter, and yet he needs Calypso's help to track somebody down? Even though he's supposed to be the best hunter, and he says he's the best hunter, but he still needs her help, just so that he can have this supporting character? It just, whatever. So, and some of the CGI is rather dicey. The animals look okay, but when Kraven is like leaping and flying and climbing things, they're still not very good at animating human movement. So it looks Play-Doh-y. So yeah, I don't recommend it, honestly. It wasn't very good. And Aaron Taylor Johnson only has a couple of shirtless scenes, so it's not even worth going to for that, because you won't get that much of it. So yeah, that was disappointing. What are you gonna do? I also, this past week, a couple of weeks ago, Microsoft sent out the Xbox year in review, but of course I only just bought my new Xbox in November, so I'd only been playing for a couple of weeks, and they're like, hey, your number one game was Starfield, your number two game was Rock Band, and I was like, no kidding, because that's the only things I'm playing, because I've only had it for a few weeks. But thanks, Microsoft, whatever. And then Sony did their year in review, and I went to look at my PlayStation year in review, and it just kept crashing, and it wouldn't load, and I was like, okay, whatever. Don't tell me it's out if it's not really. And then it was like down for like 2 days, and it was like, way to go, Sony. And then that came out, and it was as I would have expected. It was, my number one game was Disney Dreamlight Valley, because like I play it every day, sometimes for 20 minutes, sometimes for an hour, depends. So like, most of the months it was Disney Dreamlight Valley was my top game, and it was obviously my top game for a couple hundred hours. Then next was Avatar, which was like 90 hours maybe, and that was like my number one game for a couple of months. And then next was like 70 hours in Star Wars Jedi Survivor. That was, and that was the top game one of the other months. The rest of the months were all just it was just Disney. And then after that was like, I somehow played like 30 or 40 hours of No Man's Sky. And then my fifth top game was Mafia, because I played that for like 8 hours. But that was it. So, not the most surprising year in review. and Nintendo hasn't released theirs yet, but basically it's going to be Animal Crossing. Like that's it. It'll be Animal Crossing with a few other things. But we'll see. Maybe by next episode I'll have gotten that email. And there's my work on the first try as opposed to Sony. Obviously playing Disney Dreamlight Valley and Animal Crossing. I've also been making some progress in Starfield. Last episode I mentioned that I was going to get Barrett and rescue him so that I could make him one of my companions and add him to the crew. After I did that, I did a little mission with him, a side mission with him, and then I decided I was going to go back to the lodge and get Sam Coe, who is the other final main companion, and do his introductory mission. That took a while. There were multiple levels to that, but eventually we did that. And I have to say, of the companions, Barrett is my favorite because he's funny. I didn't like Sarah Morgan because she was kind of like, anytime I tried to do anything slightly shady, she was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, back off, lady. But I am going to have to use all of the companions. I'm going to have to use I'm going to have to use them all until I unlock their like personal side missions because I want to do those. But I think I'm going to romance Barrett just because he's funny and charming and I enjoy him. And it's funny because there are 4 characters that you can romance. I don't know why anybody would romance Sarah, but I appreciate there are 2 men and 2 women, and you can romance whatever you want. There's no limitations. It's not like if you're a man playing as a man, if you're a man, you can only romance this one character. It's not like Mass Effect where they're like, these are the only 2 gay characters. Everybody else is heterosexual. You can just romance whoever you want. And it was funny because I flirted with Barrett and he was taken aback, and then he kind of opened up a little about his former partner, and he used the pronoun he. And I'm like, oh. And I thought they probably recorded the dialogue twice, one with a he and one with a she, depending on what kind of character you're playing. So if I was playing a she, he would have said she. But when I looked up I was looking up an article about the companions and like who's the best companion and stuff. It turns out that no, he has a male partner that was in the past, and so Sam apparently has like an ex-wife or whatever who's the mother of his daughter. So I'm like, oh, but they don't restrict. You can romance anybody because in the future everybody is sexually fluid apparently, and everyone's bi, which is nice. I like not having restrictions. But I am going to have to do some missions with Sarah, which is going to suck. I'll have to make sure that I pick like good heroic missions and go with Sarah on those because I don't want her complaining. But Barrett's nice and he's fun and he's my favorite. So I'm definitely going to romance him and I might try to romance Sam a little. I don't know if if romancing Sam will affect my romancing Barrett. I don't know if they would talk behind my back in the game. But I want to marry Barrett. Like that's the one I'm going to actually go through with. I might flirt with Sam just a little bit, see what happens, just for fun. But I'm not serious, Barrett, I promise. I like you best. The other thing that I did this week, which was surprising, is I started playing Infinity Nikki. You might recall from a bunch of episodes ago when I was talking about the Sony State of Play, there was this game that I was like, what is this game? It looks like some kind of fashion dress-up photography game, but then there's also platforming and boss fights. Like, what is that? I don't know what that is. But it caught my eye. And it turns out it's Infinity Nikki. It's a mobile game series that this is the new installment, and they've put it on consoles and PC, and it's a full, like, open-world game. And there are platforming and boss fights and whatever. I haven't had a boss fight yet, but I've had platforming. But it's free to play. And I was like, oh, well, if it's free to play, I'll just download it and see what it's like. Because I'm also intrigued with free to play games, how far you can play before it asks you to spend money. Like, can you play for like only 20 minutes a day? And then it's like, oh, if you want to keep going, you have to spend money. Sorry. like how frustrating that is. And I have to say that after almost a week of playing Infinity Nikki, I've yet to encounter any time where I'm like, oh, I really should, I feel like I need to spend money in order to get to the next part of the game. Like, it's just there. It's free. It's crazy. I can only assume that there are a lot of people out there spending actual money on like the special outfits and clothing pieces, because otherwise I don't know how they stay in business. Because this is a huge game. It's a big open world adventure game, and there is a lot going on, and I'm not spending any money at all on it, and it's crazy. Basically, my first session was like the tutorial. I played for like maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes or so, and it was like all tutorial, and it was fine. This button does this button does that, this button does that. And then I get to this point where they're like this stained glass window, and they're like, here, and now you can like wish for an outfit. And I'm like, okay. And I push the buttons, and then it's like, how do I get out of this? Nothing happened, and I can't get out of this. And then I get to a menu, and there's all these prices on everything, and I was like, oh, no, I don't want to spend money, and I backed out. And then I hit a point where I was like, okay, this is a good safe spot to stop, and I'll come back again tomorrow. It was actually a couple of days, and then I came back to it, and I finished the tutorial and got to the town where it like opened up, and then it started to be like, okay, now do this quest, and now do this, and now do that. And it was, like help find these kids needed floof yarn so they could make string to hang the wishes from the tree, and I had to craft a grooming outfit so that I could groom the pets and collect floof yarn, and it's freaking adorable every time you do it. And then after that, there was another cutscene, and then they're like, oh, we need you to help get me a bee, and I can fix this. And I'm like, okay. But in order to get a bee, I had to get a bug collecting outfit. And that was where I felt like, okay, now I'm starting to understand how this works. And I was able to go into the menu and get the sketch for the bug collecting outfit. And then I went into the other menu where I crafted the bug collecting outfit, except I was missing some floof yarn, so I couldn't make the shirt. I made everything but the shirt, and I had to go back, collect some more floof, and then I made the shirt, and then I had the outfit. And then I could switch to it and collect bugs. And that's where I started to feel like I was getting the hang of the game. There's a lot to do. It isn't terribly difficult. It is very like chill open world, just doing favors for people, and it's very like, they're saying it's like the coziest open world game, and it kind of is. I will say I did experience a little tricky platforming action. I had to go into the sewers to like turn on the power to restore power to the town, and there was like minor platforming, and then at the end there was like this big boss fish that was like spitting stuff all over the place that you had to avoid to go from platform to platform, and I kept getting hit because when you jump, you switch to this bubble outfit so that you float like a bubble, and it's very helpful when you're trying to go a long distance and you want to land in a very specific place. You can control your descent, but when you're drifting and floating, trying to float through things, through that open space so you don't get hit, like, it's hard. And I kept getting hit because it's hard to think that way. You just want to jump, but you can't. So I had to go online and look up, because I was right at the end, and I was like, I'm gonna die again, and I'd have to start over. And I already had to start over twice, and I was like, no. And I was like, can I heal myself? I don't know. And I had to go online and look that up to find out where that is. And then I did finish that part. But yeah, that's my only real complaint with Infinity Nikki is the frickin' menus. There are menus within menus within menus, and it's very clearly a mobile game now on consoles, because not graphically, because graphically it's this beautiful open world game. I'm talking like in the menus and the way that the controls, because like it's menu within menu within menu, and I can see where swiping and tapping on your phone or tablet would be easy to navigate these menus. But when you're making it, L1, L2, R1, R2, XO, whatever, like the buttons that they have selected to do certain things are so unintuitive, it's not even funny. Like in the photo mode is not, like, it has all of the features of other games' photo modes, But the buttons, like other games' photo modes, mostly use the same buttons for the same kinds of things. Like it's kind of understood that this is gonna, like L1 and L2 are gonna like raise and lower the camera. Not here. You can't even move the camera. It's so overly complicated, and the buttons never do what you think they're gonna do. But like the worst for me is when you're doing a dialogue. Someone says a line of dialogue. To get to the next line of dialogue, you press circle. Okay, odd. Usually it's X, circles back, but whatever. You press circle. Fine. And I tend to turn on the autoplay so that it just cycles through the dialogue so I don't have to press that, because it's very odd, because when you do that and you're pressing circle until you get to their, if they ask you a question and you have to select one of multiple responses, I will press circle again. No, you're supposed to press X to select your response. Then circle to cycle through the dialogue some more. And it's just, why am I using a different button? Like, it's like, what are you doing? So that's a little frustrating. The game is adorable, it's precious, but the menus and controls are just not terribly intuitive. So there's that. But I am still playing it, and I am still kind of enjoying it, and it's weird, but whatever. It's adorable and weird and crazy. Like, oh, I forgot to mention the fashion battles, because that was another thing with a crazy menu, where like there was this group of evil stylists, and they're like, we're gonna defeat you, but you don't fight, you dress in an outfit, and then they run away. It's weird. I had to dress in a cool outfit, so I just went through my wardrobe and selected everything that had a high cool score, because each outfit piece it's scored different numbers for different things, like sexy and sweet and cool and whatever, and I just picked all the pieces that had big numbers in cool, so it would be a very cool outfit. It kind of wasn't, but whatever, I still won. And it was just so weird. Although I had to do it twice, because the first time I created the outfit and then thought I was selecting it, but I was backing out, and then it was like I wasn't wearing the outfit, and I was like, well, no, now I have to do it again. And it was kind of annoying, because these menus are not intuitive or helpful, and I don't know what I'm doing. And it's very confusing, and the buttons never do what you think they're going to do. So it's a fun concept, and it is cute, and I am still playing it. I just wish the menus and controls were a little more intuitive than what they are. And unfortunately, because now I'm playing that, as well as Disney Dreamlight Valley, excuse me, and Animal Crossing, and I'm like, when am I supposed to play the Quarry? I still need to finish the Quarry. So, come back next episode and see if I've been able to find the time amongst all the other games I'm playing to play the Quarry, or if I've just played more Nikki and Starfield, or if I started another game. I mean, who knows what could happen next week? It's insane. I don't know what's happening. Who would have thought I would have started another game this week? Not me, but it happened. Who knows what you'll get next episode. Bye!